All right, game three. I got to face a young player named Faris from the local Dallas scene, who apparently has gained about 200 rating points in the last two tournaments or so. And we actually had an incident during the game, and I want to ask you, what would you do in my place? I want to get your opinion on this for sure. How it looks like from someone who may not play the game professionally, and then I will share my opinion about it. So, what happened is my opponent's phone beeped during the game, and it was a multiple beep. And at that position, to be fair, I was worse. Okay, I was at the edge of losing, and also to be fair, it's gotta be mentioned that I played the game very poorly. All right, I blundered the pawn and made decisions that I probably should not have made. However, that's what happened basically. And when the phone beeped, I stopped the clock and called an arbiter. All right. Now, I know a lot of players may consider this, oh, that's unsportsmanlike, you're losing, and that's why you're calling. Would you call an arbiter if you're winning? Honestly, I probably would. If there was mate in a few moves, then okay, you may not try to enforce it, but I do think that game integrity is the utmost of importance. All right, and as players, as professionals, everyone should respect game integrity. All right, I honestly do not understand why not leave the backpack to the arbiter or to your parents' car if that is a possibility. I myself always make sure to go extra length to respect game integrity and make sure that there is no chance of any electronic being near me or something like that. All right. Yes. Let's see what happened in the game and when that situation occurred here. After we have Queen's Gambit on the board, I go Bishop to B4. He goes Queen B3, a sideline, which is a very interesting one. Actually, I explored it a long time ago, and I did not remember that C5 here is the main move for black, and the main line leads to Bishop G5, Queen to A5, taking on F6, takes on C4, Queen C4, G takes F6, and on the next move, black will capture on C5, and apparently this is the main line. Right, then King E7 with the double-edged play. Queen H4 also, King E7 most likely. I continue with Knight C6 because that's the response on Queen A4. So I assume that, okay, Knight C6 here also works, but apparently it weakens my D5 pawn. He captures on D5, captures back, bishop goes to G5. Now putting the pressure on F6 and therefore D5 pawn. Very natural development for white. I defend the D5 pawn with bishop E6, but now since bishop has moved away from C8, B7 pawn is going to be weak. Now, I think this is an inaccuracy. There are other moves which is slightly better. I think A5, one of them, is very interesting. But bishop to E6, he plays E3, and here I realize now if I go short castle, he'll simply play first, even if he plays bishop D3 here, and then tries to go short castle, and then bishop F6, knight D5 is gonna become a threat after this pin is gone. And if I am trying to retreat this bishop back, I may blunder the B7 pawn. Okay, I can just go back to E7, for example. What if he plays A3, in fact, here? This is also slightly better for white, but there is no need to waste a move with A3 for white. I think it makes more sense to finish the development, castle, and what is that bishop going to do? Either has to take on C3 or go back anyways. So I made up my mind here, played rook to b8 to defend the b7 pawn. I knew this is probably not the most accurate move, but I was okay with it. Short castle and bishop back to e7. He goes a3 anyways, basically hinting that he wants to move the queen and push b4. Now I go h6, bishop moves away, and knight goes to e4. Knight e4, I thought already at this point I had equalized. Queen c2, then I moved the knight back to d6, and after b3 I go c6 to strengthen my center. Then I'll want to go bishop f5, so position actually now is very close to equal. In general, these Carlsbad positions, if black is able to trade this light squared bishop, it is considered to be at least equal, all right? Because white will not have an easy time pushing this pawn minority attack versus black's pawn majority, because if you go b4, that's going to weaken the c4 square, right? So black could respond with b5. Now, by the way, I should mention actually b3 I thought was quite odd after knight d6, and he was making these moves quite fast, to my surprise, but I assume that was because he gets anxious in time troubles, and so he didn't want to get into time trouble at all. And yeah, the final phase of the game in time trouble from him was playing also very poorly, but that's probably understandable at the same time when you're playing someone over 500 points higher than you, right? Rating points. So he goes h3, I go bishop f5 to trade this light squared bishops, now knight a4, and here we start to shuffle around. Basically, we shuffle the knights, we shuffle the rooks. He tries to make progress on the queen side here with a4. I think a5 was a mistake. I should not engage on the king side at all, because how is white going to make progress? I think it makes much more sense to continue with something like this. a6 here, make sure that white is not going to be able to make any progress there. If you try to push b5, I'll simply take a knight takes b5, and I will have all the time in the world to figure out what I can do on the king side. Now, I don't think that this is an advantage for black either, but if we are talking who is more comfortable, I think black is slightly more comfortable than white in the position. I decided to fix the white pawns there with a5, but I think it gave more counterplay to white than it gave it to me. So I was hoping here that after knight c4, my pawn structure is better. I'm trying to trap the queen. Well, he takes on a5 right now, obviously not to allow queen getting trapped. And I realized that I will not be able to take advantage of my better pawn structure because it's gonna come under severe attack. All white pieces now are gonna park this b6, c5, and squares and then on the b file. And I do have this outpost on c4, but that's the only square. Let's put it this way, that is my only leverage, and white has a lot of targets other than that. So that's kind of what happened here. We shuffled around. I was getting low on time. He probably had about 20 minutes. I had about 10 minutes already, and this is to remind you, delay 10. All right, so time does not get added to your clock. It just starts running after 10 seconds. So long story short, I did not want to get too low on time, so I was also playing fast. And here I blundered a very important pawn. I played knight to c4. You can stop the video for a little bit here if you want to figure out what is the blunder here and why is that a blunder. Well, now the point is, yes, rook b7 is not a possibility because I'll have rook knight to d2 at the end. So let's say if you take there, rook takes b7, knight takes b7, and knight d2, and now I'm forking queen and the rook. However, he can take with the knight, and if I go knight d2, he can go knight d6, and when I take on b3, he takes on c8, and I forgot the fact that I had moved this rook to e7, so he can capture my rook on e7. This rook is hanging, so after rook b4, he simply takes there, then takes on c6 as well, and my entire position falls apart, basically. So that was a very unfortunate blunder. I played rook a8 here. He moves the queen away. I play f5, and this was the position actually where his phone rang, or beeped actually, didn't ring. So I called an arbiter. He has 15 minutes. I had about 7 minutes actually, and arbiter came half his time. So we got to equal time, and with little time on the clock, he panicked. I think it also affected that this basically the entire drama situation affected his quality of play, and he gave me this extra a pawn back. I moved the king away. I cannot recall here because we were playing very fast, but what ended up happening was I captured this pawn, and knights got traded on the board. The single rooks got traded, and it was queen and 4 pawns versus queen rook and 4 pawns versus queen rook and 4 pawns. Then d pawn got traded for the e pawn, and we were left with 3 versus 3 on one side of the board, rook endings. All right. Queens also got traded when I pushed d4 to trade that pawn. So technically, I was worse, and I was able to hold the draw, which at the end, as we'll see, had us tied for the first place. All right. So do let me know, what do you think about the incident? What do you think about the rule? Whether electronics should be allowed at all? Do let me know what you think about the incident. What do you think about the rule in general? I think this is a very relevant topic in chess, as well as also in poker. I think at the World Series of Poker there was an incident of having like laptops at the final table, and people were saying, okay, this is not a good look for the game. And I think it's the same. Electronics should stay away from the over-the-board chess. Right? We have enough paranoia as it is about the cheating. Okay, that is my opinion about it. Just I understand sometimes we may forget, but just make sure. I myself always try to make sure I go extra length. That it is not a possibility. I do think that USCF rules on this is a little softer because usually you have 5 games per day, or sometimes like 4 or 5 games a day.